Hey, you absolute legends. Thank you so much for joining us here at the beautiful Make Believe Studios. We are doing a video that I know a few have been waiting for. This is the follow-up to our Blink-182 Enema of the State tone video with Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. And this is a sound that I have loved since I figured out that you needed microphones to record. I mean, I guess I knew that a little bit earlier because I had a Talkboy when I was a kid. When I first got into the guitar, I fell in love with Jerry Finn's work on multiple records. You know, MXPX, Blink-182, Phoenix TX. There was tons and tons of stuff that I loved. Really, the first thing that the ever-passing moment was the record that I was like, who is this guy? And then I found out he was also the guy who did Blink-182, and it was over from there. So when Take Off Your Pants and Jacket came out, it was one of the first records that I ever went and purchased. I'll never forget listening to those tones. I'll never forget the way that the palm mute sounded in particular. It's been something I've been searching for, and I've went down many a rabbit hole and tried for years to absolutely dial in that tone as close as I could possibly get, and I believe that we are there. And let me tell you how we got there. So myself and Ryan Harvey and our good buddy Daniel Maban and a bunch of other people have been out there just looking at all of these videos and photos for years. And we've spoken about it before, but I'll post up some of those photos as we talk about it. But let's talk about what makes up this tone. And there's not too many photos from Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, but there is a couple photos with Mark singing, and there's the amplifier behind him, which you can see. And then there's also this very classic photo of Jerry Finn in the control room, at which point you can see the two amplifiers. And when it came to this record, what I'm seeing in the photos and from what I could tell from picking up on stuff, what you have is the Mesa Boogie Dual Rectifier Rev G, and you've got a Marshall Silver Jubilee. And these amplifiers were Jerry's amplifiers, where in Enema of the State, I actually believe Tom's amplifiers were used. You have some of Tom's cabinets in the Enema of the State photos, but here there's no photos of the cabinets that I saw, so I had to make some assumptions, and the big assumption that I made was that Jerry was using his cabinets. And you can tell that later on when they did Untitled, they used Jerry's cabinets, and Jerry didn't have a rectifier cabinet that he was using for the majority of his work. He had two Mesa Boogie 1960 BV cabinets. And these cabinets, supposedly from the word on the street, had greenbacks in them, but when they were sold on Reverb, they actually had vintage 30s in them, plus one cabinet had some eminent speakers and the other cabinet had some creambacks. But the speakers that are mic'd up in the photos that I typically saw tended to be the vintage 30s. So we went with two Marshall BV cabinets, a Mesa Boogie Dual Rectifier Rev G, and a Marshall Silver Jubilee. We also zoomed in and compared the photos of Jerry's amplifier and Tom's live rig and the different markings that they had on them. If you look closely, you'll be able to see that there's silver dash marks on Jerry's amplifier, and then there's also yellow dash marks on Jerry's amplifier. If you look on Tom's amplifier, you'll be able to see that there are dots that seem to have been wiped away and the settings seem to have been updated. And somewhere in between all of those little points is where I believe Take Off Your Pants and Jacket lives. And it took us a long time to dial in the rectifier and get it to where we were happy with, but I think we really got there. And the Marshall is a very, very important part of the sound. It's actually louder than the dual rectifier. It's so incredibly loud, I could not really tell you. You know, on the 900 for the Enema tone, what I found is that the clean channel was actually utilized as part of the dirty tone, and the clean gain was just turned all the way up, and then the master was at roughly 5, which was pretty loud but pretty reasonable, all things considered. Where the Silver Jubilee, I found that it didn't really wake up unless I turned it all the way up to 10. And when I did turn it all the way up to 10, something really special started to happen. So that's what we did. And you know, there were a lot of little details that made up this tone. One thing that I found interesting was that for my whole life, I had ran the dual rectifier in bold with the silicone diode as the rectifier. And the photo of Jerry's, you know, the rectifier was actually set to spongy, and that actually did make a little bit of a difference. And we ended up using it. We kept it on spongy, and I think that that is part of that palm muting sound that I love so much. For microphones on the cabinets, I had a Royer 121 on the Mesa Boogie Marshall cabinet, and I had a 67 that we made here at the studio with old parts on the Marshall cabinet that was for the Silver Jubilee. And that 67, we had to pad at the microphone and also put an inline pad because it was just so incredibly loud. And both of these are hitting at exactly negative 25 dB on a 1073 microphone preamplifier, which I don't know if that's exactly what they used for the record, but for what we were doing, we thought it sounded very, very good. And I know Jerry did have a BCM10 that he ran guitars into. So that said, we didn't utilize any of the EQs on the 1073s, but we did utilize the high pass filter on the 121, and then those were summed in our API console, and they went down one bus into a Paultec. We have a vintage Paultec. Jerry used a Manly Enhanced Paultec, but we used this older Paultec, and we found this photo of Jerry where there were some settings marked, and he was doing a boost all the way up to 9 o'clock, and we tried that out and we thought it sounded very, very good. So we are boosting a little bit of 100 hertz and a whole lot of 4K, very wide, very open on the Paultec, and it really brought the guitar to life. Another interesting thing that we had to figure out, which was a big piece of the puzzle, was I believe that sometime before Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, but after Anthem of the State, Jerry picked up a Klon pedal. I believe that a Klon was part of this sound, and we actually don't have an old $9,000, $7,000 Klon, so we tried out a couple different Klons, one of them being a hand-built Klon that was built by a builder here in Omaha and given to me by the great guys over at Millard Music House. And this one just sounded a little bit too bluesy, but thankfully this Wish $35 Klon pedal sounded incredible, and we put it to the settings that Jerry had marked on his Klon pedal, because if you go look at the photos of it, he's got markings on it, and we set it up the exact same way, and it was very, very similar. We had to tweak it just a tiny bit to our ears, but when we started making all these same decisions and started turning things close to where we were seeing and listening to what we were hearing, things started falling into place. And I've sent some of the recordings that we've been doing over the past couple days to some of the most critical Blink-182 fans that I know. Some people who have spent all of their money chasing this tone, some people who literally have, you know, toured the world with Blink-182, and it's incredible to hear their thoughts on the work that we're doing, because I'm very happy with what we've been able to accomplish. And that said, I want to give these profiles to you guys. We have made profiles for NAMM, we have made profiles for Tone Hub, we've made profiles for the Kemper, and we've made profiles for the Quad Cortex. But we're not giving them out until this video hits 10,000 views. So if you want them, please share this video and tell people that you'd like those profiles. Comment below that you'd like the profiles, and make sure to go grab the profiles that we've already released from our Enema of the State video. We're on our way to 2,000 subscribers, and when we get there, we will be giving something else away. So if there's something you can think of, please let me know, but I have a guitar pedal in mind. If you can guess what it is, maybe it'll go to you. Talk to you soon.